this is Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry and you're watching Finish It Friday, where I talk about what I have finished in my sewing room this week and also what you may have finished this week if you sent me photos. So I do have a few photos to share. But first I'll get into what I was able to accomplish this week. Not as much as I normally would, and definitely not as much as I had slated down for myself in my planner. But the weekend is not over, so I'm just gonna keep chipping away at that to-do list that I had prepared for this week. And we will just plug on into next week and get as much done this weekend as I can. So yeah, I had a couple of quilts I wanted to bind, and I didn't get to either one of those, but I'll show you what I did do. I think I had set the goal that we would work on doing some coasters with some orphan blocks, and I did manage to go through my orphan blocks and pull out a few good candidates for that purpose. I do have one other one made. I didn't bring it over here with me, but that's okay. Maybe I'll show it to you on Monday. Nothing special, just a little quarter square block that I did some long stitches on for quilting. So I have a few more that I've pulled out of the parts center, as Pat Sloan calls it. If you have a lot of projects behind you, you've probably got a lot of practice blocks or extra half square triangles or whatever, and those are the kinds of things that just sit in boxes forever if you don't do something with them. So we had the goal of maybe getting some of those out and making some just simple coasters with those, and I did work on that a little bit. I also worked on my video for Wednesday, which was the binding the amazing facing for this quilt, and I got very, very good response from that. Everyone seemed to be very I don't want to say wowed because it wasn't my invention. It was just something that I saw somewhere, but I'd never seen it anywhere before and wanted to share it. But everyone seemed to be anxious to try it out, and it is a good option for binding. If you don't want to do binding, do facing, and it is a very unique way to do the facing. So there are other ways to do facing, but this one was very no nonsense, easy to do. So thank you for watching that video and sharing it with others, and I've been getting lots of views on that video, which is always a good thing. And so if you haven't seen that yet, go and see it. It's called The Amazing Facing. I also worked on Pat Sloan's Autumn Wonders block of the week, Block Wednesday. And this is the third week, so we had this block here. I think it was called Fall Festivals or something like that. So I'm still using my Riley Blake Elegance collection of fat quarters that I have, that I will run through as I'm doing these blocks, and very pleased with that line of fabric, and it's working out well. The blocks are super easy. So if you want a block of the week project, go over to Pat Sloan's channel or her website called ilovetomakequilts.com, and you can get these free patterns. Pressed flowers. So Fat Quarter Shop has in their sampler box a monthly block in the theme of pressed flowers, and there is a certain line of fabric that you're instructed to use for that, but I'm doing mine a little bit different. The fabric's not sent with the block, so you can use whatever you want for it. And I don't know if you all remember, but I wanted to kind of replicate the actual flower instead of using the same line of fabric for every block. So let me take these down and I'll put these up. Okay, so these are the blocks. They're kind of set on point here on my board. I don't know that the finishing instructions is going to be that way. It could be that they all sit kind of at an angle like this in the quilt. I don't I don't know if the instructions that we get each month even has that in there, but I'm setting them on point to show you what each flower is. And so we're in the 6th month, and this is the one that we had this week. It's called, or this month, it's called Anemone. And I had to look up what an anemone flower looks like, and it turns out that they are in all sorts of colors. They are kind of a tallish flower, and they look kind of daisy-like, but they're a little more delicate. The petals are, and then they have a little bit of a cone center that's usually dark. So that's why I used a dark center. And then the particular one that I saw a photo of that I liked was purple, so I made mine purple. I'll insert that picture right here so you can see what I'm talking about. But they come in red, purple, kind of a blue color, white. So of course white wasn't going to work because that's my background fabric, but this is what I've got so far. I do already have a purple flower, but it has yellow incorporated in it. I don't remember what that one was named, but I think this is going to be a really cute quilt when I get it finished, when I get all of the blocks. So that's pressed flowers for this month. Yeah, I'm enjoying doing these patterns. They're very, very fun to make, and they're not as easy as the Block Wednesday that Pat Sloan has, but I would say maybe confident beginner is what they are, but they're not super complicated. So if you just mark all your pieces and follow the instructions, they'll come out every time. So that's that. Now let's get to your finishes, but before we get to your finishes, I'm going to change something out on the board behind me. Okay, we'll talk about this in a minute, but let's get to your finishes for this week. I have a few. I actually forgot some last week, so I'm going to go back to some of last week's submissions and get those. I had something from Sabrina that I forgot, and these are her composition notebook covers. And Sabrina has come up with a pattern of her own that I'm hoping to demonstrate to you sometime in the near future. But she has added a zipper pocket on hers on the length of it. And as you can see here, she has 3 different ones there in the first picture. And then she has one with a little bit of an artwork on it, like an applique of a little bird. Another colorful one there, and then you see the other little birds motif there that she's used for a tote bag and a pillow along with that. So that is very creative, and I love the zipper idea. And you guys are just coming up with some really cool ideas with these composition covers still. So keep working on those. Those are a nice little stash buster and make nice little gifts for your friends. Great job, Sabrina. And then Dolores has a bunch of, no, not a bunch of, she has, not yet, hold on. She has 2 rag quilts that she finished a couple weeks ago. And these are 2 that I forgot to show last week. And these are baby size and baby colors. And I believe they are in flannel. Actually, she said these were going to be gifted as doll quilts, or they could be changing pads. So good job there. Nice use of fabric. And then Victoria also had something that I skipped last week. She had 2 blocks that she had finished. One was the Twisted Spiral Heart foundation paper piecing that we did together, and we see that she's got a bright pink in the background, and then a solid turquoise, and then a floral print. So that turned out really good. Your use of your solids and your prints and your colors turned out really good for that block. And then the other one, I believe that's called a Friendship Star, I'm not sure, but this is part of a Corey Yoder sew along right now, and she's playing catch up on that block, and this is the one that she got done. Great job, Victoria. And then Dolores also has a bunch of zipper pouches out of Lori Holt's Zippy Bags panel. So she's had this panel for a while, and she used a lot of her scraps in her scrap bags for linings. So these turned out great. Love those. Very useful little pouches. And she did just a whole bunch one day, or over a couple days maybe. Pat has sent a beautiful fall-inspired quilt here. She says it's 61 by 61 flannel that she made for her dad. And it's from FabricPatch.net's Tridazzle pattern and a kit that they cut to my specifications. And the fabric line is Autumn Harvest from Maywood Studio. Yes, that's a gorgeous line of fabric. I have seen this line of fabric. You don't see too many flannels in these kinds of prints. So that turned out very pretty, and he's going to love his new cozy quilt. Kayleen has one called X's and O's by Missouri Star. It finished at 69 by 88, and this was her first time working with Kaffe, and it was so much fun. The bright colors kept me inspired, which made this an easy and a quick sew. Yes, it's gorgeous. Love the blues. And Kaffe Fassett, yeah, it's going to turn out beautiful no matter what combinations you put together. You can throw it all together in one quilt, or you can do it like Kayleen did here and do the blue shades there. Very pretty and very striking on the white. Dolly has a quilt that she just finished, and she says this is a quilt that I've made for my older grandson, who is 17. He recently told me that he's outgrown the last one that I made for him. He's quite a bit over 6 feet tall now, so I made it as an oversized throw or long enough to fit a twin bed. She said she thread-based her quilts, and she moves the furniture out of the living room and sets up an old-fashioned type frame with clamps. We see that there. That is so cool. She machine quilted the main skeleton of the quilt and then came back with big stitches done by hand in the center of each big rectangle. And she put her signature wavy lines in the borders. So that's pretty cool. You can see there her variety of quilting, the wavy lines, and then the big stitch in each of the blocks. And that's a really cool frame. She's using the old-timey wood frame with some new-timey clamps. So that's pretty cool. You can just sit there and do your hand quilting. And then Patricia has a really cute composition notebook cover. And it is sewing themed, as you see there, the fabric. She's got her bookmark in there. That just gives you a lot to look at. It's going to be a very nice gift, either for yourself, for your sewing projects, or for one of your sewing friends. I love your crosshatch quilting on there as well. Ellen did a autumn-inspired wall hanging called Feathered Friends from This and That by Sherry K. Falls. And Sherry K. Falls, those are the patterns that I use for the little blocks that are behind me on the Monday Quilt Chat that I made last year. That's some of hers too. She has a lot of patterns that are small quilts or wall-size quilts or even smaller. So Ellen has made this autumn quilt here with pumpkins and falling leaves, and we see a bird there. Ellen's a friend of mine. I know she loves birds, and I love her bird there too. Reminds me of the crows that I'm so enthralled with. Very, very cute. And she said she also used the new Amazing Facing method to finish out her edges of her quilt instead of binding, because she didn't have any good fabric that went with it for the binding. So this was a perfect way to finish out that quilt without having to put an odd color on there for the binding. because none of the facing shows. Awesome. Now, Ernest sent the Designer Mystery 2022 top that he recently finished, and that's what this is behind me. This is the Designer Mystery 2022. It was called Nantucket Summer, and it was using a fabric line of that name, I believe, of Camille Ross Kelly, I believe it was. And then different designers designed the blocks and the finishing. Cool to show you Ernest's take on it. He didn't participate in the block of the month for 2022, the Designer Mystery, but you can go out to Fat Quarter Shop and get the pattern. And as a matter of fact, he sent me the link, and I'll put the link in my description box in case you want to go and get the Designer Mystery for last year and make it up in your own fabric. And he made some changes to it. He did not do the borders around the 12 blocks, and he felt like it would just be too much, and they didn't add any extra borders around the edges. I don't either at the moment have extra around the edges, but each of the blocks did call for like a 1-inch frame around each one here. So he didn't do that, but the design is still there. And then he didn't have any fabric that would work for that anyway. He said there's a gnat in here. So everything was 100% stash, he said, because it was stash timber, right? So no fabric buying during September. But I didn't know if you all knew that if you didn't particularly care for the fabric line for the Designer Mysteries that Fat Quarter Shop has every year, you can still go out and get the pattern booklets. And you do have to pay for them, of course, but then you can just make it up in your own fabric. Or if you have a bundle of fabric that you want to use, a line in particular, or if you wanted to do it in solids instead, you could do that. And I love the way he incorporated red in the log cabin star blocks. These ones here, ours have green, in keeping with the entire, line is basically blues and greens and whites. That's it. But his has some red in there, and I think that just looks really cool next to those stars inside those log cabin blocks. And then if you look at each block closely, you can see that they're all very unique, but yet the quilt itself is all cohesive. So don't be afraid of using your scraps for something like this, because you can make it come together as long as you spread those brighter colors out in your quilt amongst the blocks. It'll all become cohesive like his did. So I also want to mention too that Ernest is a RedBud Quilting Company on Etsy. So if you want to go on Etsy and see the quilts that he has made and has for sale currently, check that out, and I'll put that in the description box as well. So great job, everyone. You outdid me this week. I don't feel like I accomplished that much, but you have weeks like that. But I got some sewing in, and I'm going to continue this weekend, and I hope you continue this weekend too if you have time. Do a little sewing every day, and we'll see you back here on Monday for Monday Quilt Chat and see what's up my sleeve for next week. All right, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.